My name is Fallon Mercer, and I was 34 years old when I finally understood something my mother had been teaching me my entire life without ever saying it out loud. I wasn't really her daughter. Not the way my sister was. That realization didn't come during a fight. It didn't come during a slammed door or a screamed accusation. It came during turkey and mashed potatoes, and the sound of wrapping paper being torn open while my two children sat perfectly still, their hands empty on their laps, pretending not to notice. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Stay with me, because this is the part that still makes my chest tight when I remember it. The invitation arrived 3 weeks before Thanksgiving. A group text from my mother, as always. 3 smiling emojis. 2 turkey emojis. The words, "Family dinner at our house. 4 p.m. Don't be late." I should have said no. I'd spent 7 years learning to say no. 7 years of therapy appointments squeezed between double shifts at the hospital. 7 years of watching my kids fall asleep in the car because we couldn't afford after-school care and I worked nights. 7 years of my mother's phone calls that always started with "How are you?" and ended with "Well, your sister just bought a new house." But Thanksgiving felt different. My daughter Harper Wren had just turned 12. My son Beckett Shaw was 9. They were old enough now to remember holidays. Old enough to wonder why we never went to Grandma's house like their cousins did. So I said yes. I told myself I was being mature. I told myself that people change. I told myself that my mother had probably forgotten the way she looked at me when I announced I was pregnant at 22, unmarried, working as a nursing assistant instead of finishing college like my sister. I told myself a lot of things that turned out to be lies. The drive to my parents' house took 47 minutes. I know because I counted every mile. The GPS kept recalculating as I missed exits, my hands too tight on the steering wheel, Harper Wren and Beckett Shaw arguing quietly in the back seat about who got to pick the music. I'd bought new clothes for them. Nothing expensive, Target clearance, end-of-season sales, but they looked clean and neat and small in a way that made my throat ache. Beckett Shaw wore a blue sweater that was slightly too big. Harper Wren wore a plaid dress she'd picked out herself, spinning in front of the mirror for 20 minutes until she decided she looked like a grown-up. I didn't buy anything for myself. I wore black jeans and a gray cardigan that had a small stain on the sleeve that I kept trying to hide by crossing my arms. The car's check engine light had been on for 2 months. The heat worked inconsistently. When we pulled into my parents' driveway, I sat in the driver's seat for an extra 30 seconds, listening to the engine tick, watching the living room windows glow warm and golden. Inside, I could see my sister's car already parked in the driveway. A new SUV. Leather seats. No check engine light. "Mom?" Harper Wren's voice from the back seat. "Are we going in?" I turned off the engine. "Yeah, baby. We're going in." The front door was unlocked. It was always unlocked. My mother believed in open doors and closed mouths, welcome everyone, but don't you dare say anything that makes us uncomfortable. The smell hit me first. Roasted turkey, cinnamon, butter, money. My mother had always been a good cook, the kind of good that made you feel like maybe everything was fine because the food tasted like love. My father Weston Vale was in his recliner, remote in hand, barely glancing up when we walked in. "Hey, there they are," he said, but he didn't stand. He never stood. My mother Evelyn Carrington came out of the kitchen with oven mitts still on her hands. She hugged me the way she always did, quick, loose, her cheek barely touching mine before she pulled away. "Fallon, you look tired." Not hello. Not it's good to see you. Not let me look at my grandchildren. Tired. Because I was tired. Because I'd worked a 12-hour shift the day before. Because I'd stayed up late packing their clothes. Because I'd cried in the shower that morning from the weight of simply existing. But she didn't need to say it like that. "And who are these two?" my mother asked, finally looking down at Harper Wren and Beckett Shaw. "Goodness, you've grown." That was the first thing she said to them. Not their names. Not "I missed you." Just an observation, like they were plants she hadn't watered. Harper Wren pressed herself against my leg. Beckett Shaw stared at the floor. My sister Savannah Sterling appeared in the kitchen doorway, wine glass in hand, smiling the smile she'd been perfecting since we were teenagers. The one that said, "I'm not better than you, but we both know I am." Fallon. Wow. I almost didn't recognize you. Did you cut your hair? It had been the same length for 4 years. Hi, Savannah, I said. Her children pushed past her, 3 of them, all blonde, all wearing matching outfits that probably cost more than my rent. They ran to my mother, shouting "Grandma," and wrapped themselves around her legs, and she laughed and bent down and kissed each of their foreheads. I watched Harper run watch them. She was 12. She understood more than I wanted her to. Dinner was fine. That's the worst part. It was fine. The food was good. The conversation stayed surface level. My sister talked about her husband Chase Holloway's promotion. My mother talked about her book club. My father talked about the yard, the weather, anything except the fact that half his grandchildren were sitting at his table and he hadn't asked them a single question. Beckett Shaw spilled his water. Not badly, just a small tip of the glass, a little puddle spreading across the tablecloth. He froze, his eyes going wide, and I grabbed my napkin so fast I knocked over my own drink. It's okay, I whispered. It's okay, buddy. Accidents happen. But my mother was already sighing, already reaching for a towel with that specific slowness that said, "I'm not angry, I'm just disappointed." Savannah's oldest, Brandon Mercer, age 10, snickered into his hand. And then dinner ended, and people started clearing plates, and my mother announced that it was time for the tradition. I didn't know what she meant, but I was about to find out. My mother disappeared into the back bedroom and returned carrying a white gift bag, tissue paper sticking out the top, something heavy inside. "Every year," she announced, standing at the head of the table, "we give a small token of appreciation to the grandchildren who have made us proud this year." The room went quiet. Brandon Mercer straightened in his chair. Savannah's middle child, a girl named Madison Vale, started bouncing. The youngest, Blake Monroe, barely 5, didn't understand but clapped anyway. My mother reached into the bag and pulled out a small box. "Brandon, for your perfect report card." Brandon's face lit up. He ran to her, grabbed the box, tore it open. A gift card. A good one. Then Madison. "For winning your science fair." Another box. Another gift. Then Blake. "For being such a good helper." A stuffed animal. She clutched it to her chest. My mother smiled, pleased with herself, scanning the room for gratitude. And then her eyes landed on my children. Harper Wren and Beckett Shaw, sitting at the table with no gifts, no boxes, no tissue paper, because apparently they hadn't earned one. "Oh," my mother said, like she'd just remembered something mildly inconvenient. "Well, maybe next year." The silence was so complete I could hear the ice melting in my father's glass. And then my sister laughed. Not loudly, not cruelly exactly, just a small, breathy laugh, like she'd heard a mildly amusing joke. "Guess they didn't earn one," Savannah said, looking directly at me. Harper Wren's eyes filled with tears. Beckett Shaw grabbed my hand under the table, his fingers small and cold. And something inside me, something I'd been choking down for 12 years, something I'd buried under therapy and bills and exhaustion and hope, finally stopped breathing. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I didn't argue. I just stood up, took my kids by their hands, and walked out the front door. No goodbye. No explanation. Just the sound of my boots on the hardwood floor and the click of the door latch behind us. In the car, Harper Wren asked, "Why don't they love us?" I couldn't answer. I drove home in silence, the check engine light glowing on the dashboard. Beckett Shaw fell asleep against the window. Harper Wren stared at the passing streetlights, her face blank in a way that scared me more than tears. When I finally pulled into our apartment parking lot, I sat for a long moment. Then I pulled out my phone. I typed a text to my mother, my father, and my sister. "Don't invite us again. We're not your family's punchline." My thumb hovered over send. Then I added one more line. "And don't worry about the gift you owe my children. I'll handle it myself." I hit send. And then I waited. 30 seconds passed. Nothing. 45 seconds. My phone buzzed. My mother. "What gift? What are you talking about?" Then my father. "Fallon, calm down. Let's talk tomorrow." Then my sister. "Oh, please. You're so dramatic." I didn't respond. I just turned off my phone, carried my sleeping children upstairs, and laid them in my bed. Harper Wren woke up an hour later, crying. I held her. Beckett Shaw stirred, but didn't open his eyes. When I finally checked my phone again, there were 14 messages. Mostly my mother, alternating between "you're overreacting" and "we love you, you know." But one message stopped me cold. It was from my sister, sent 10 minutes after the others. Mom told me you've been recording things. Is that true? Fallon, that's insane. Delete them. Now. I stared at the screen. I'd never told anyone about the recordings. 3 years of voice memos, hidden in a password-protected folder. A Christmas dinner where my mother called me a disappointment. A birthday party where my father joked that Beckett Shaw was too soft. A phone call where Savannah laughed about how Harper Wren would probably end up pregnant at 16. I'd recorded them because I needed proof I wasn't crazy. Because gaslighting works best when there are no witnesses. But somehow Savannah knew. I thought back. 3 months ago, Savannah had borrowed my phone to call her husband when hers died. She'd had it for maybe 4 minutes. Long enough. She must have seen the voice memo app. The folder labeled family. My chest went cold. They knew. And they'd said nothing. Waiting. Watching. Probably assuming I'd never actually use them. My phone buzzed again. My mother. I answered. Fallon. Her voice was tight, controlled, the way it got when she was pretending to be calm. Listen to me. Savannah told me about your recordings. Whatever you're thinking of doing, please don't. That's private. That would destroy this family. Think about your father's reputation at the church. Think about. Do you know what Harper Wren asked me on the drive home? Silence. She asked me why you don't love us. That's what she said. Why don't they love us? Not why didn't we get a gift? Not why did Aunt Savannah laugh? She asked why you don't love her. She's 12 years old, Mom. And she's already learned that her grandmother's love is conditional. Fallon, that's not. I have 3 years of recordings, Mom. 3 years of you, Dad, Savannah, saying things about me and my children that I wouldn't wish on anyone. I have Savannah laughing about Harper Wren. I have Dad saying Beckett Shaw is too soft, probably from having no father figure. I have you telling your friends that I threw my life away for nothing. She didn't deny it. Please, she whispered. Please don't put those recordings anywhere. I'm begging you. I'm not going to post the audio, I said. The relief in her exhale was audible. Thank God. Fallon, thank you. We can fix this. We can. But I am going to share what was said. Silence. I've already typed out a transcript. Every word. I'm not posting the recordings because I know the law in this state. I know two-party consent. But words on a screen aren't illegal. And the family deserves to know what kind of people you really are. Fallon, no. This isn't a negotiation, Mom. This is a consequence. I hung up. The group chat had 42 people in it. Extended family, in-laws, cousins I hadn't spoken to in years. I opened it at 11:47 p.m. The last message was from my Aunt Eleanor Brooks. So grateful for this beautiful family. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. I took a breath. Then I typed out a short preface. I'm sharing something painful. These are verbatim quotes from family gatherings over the last 3 years. I have audio to back every single one. Read them. Then decide who you're actually grateful for. I pasted the transcript. It was long, 4 pages worth. I broke it into 5 separate messages so no one would miss it. Each quote had a date and a speaker. I started small. A comment about my weight. A joke about my job. Then I built to the worst ones. The ones about Harper Wren. About Beckett Shaw. About my worth as a mother. I pressed send on the last message at 11:52 p.m. For 30 seconds, nothing happened. Then my phone exploded. Eleanor Brooks, is this real? Cousin Zara Ellington, oh my God. Uncle Declan Mercer, I'm speechless. Savannah, Fallon, delete that right now. My mother, this is a violation. How dare you? My father, you've gone too far this time. But then something shifted. Eleanor Brooks again. Wait, Savannah, did you really say that about Harper Wren? Cousin Zara Ellington. Fallon, I'm so sorry. I had no idea. My mother's best friend, Patricia Remington, who'd been added to the chat years ago for a family reunion, typed, "Evelyn, is this true? You said your daughter was a lost cause." The silence that followed was louder than any message. Because my mother didn't deny it. Neither did Savannah. They just stopped typing. In the weeks that followed, the consequences unfolded quietly. My Aunt Eleanor Brooks invited me to her Christmas Eve dinner for the first time in 6 years. My cousin Zara Ellington started sending me memes, then texts, then an invitation to coffee. The family chat went silent for 3 days, then slowly came back to life, but without my mother's photos, without Savannah's announcements. My mother tried to spin it, told people I'd edited the quotes, told people I was mentally unwell. But Patricia Remington had been at that dinner where my mother called me a lost cause. Patricia remembered. And Patricia quietly confirmed the quotes to anyone who asked. By New Year's, my parents had been uninvited from 2 family gatherings. Savannah's husband Chase Holloway asked her to take a break from family events after someone forwarded him the transcript. My mother stopped posting in the group chat entirely. They never apologized. Not once. But that wasn't the victory. The victory came on Christmas morning when Harper Wren opened a card from Aunt Eleanor Brooks with a $50 bill inside and a note that said, "You matter. I see you." The victory came when Beckett Shaw asked if we could have pancakes for breakfast, and I said yes, and we sat in our tiny apartment eating cheap mix from a box, and he said, "This is the best Christmas ever." The victory came when I realized my phone had stopped buzzing with their calls. I hadn't destroyed them. I just finally stopped letting them destroy us. Some gifts don't come wrapped in tissue paper. Some gifts are just the quiet, steady truth that you were never the problem. And that is a gift no one can ever take away.